my wrestling.
Hey, welcome back to Awana. It's time for the games. Here we have on Team Blue, we have Sophia. Team Green, we have Sarah. We got this cup stacking challenge. We got here 28 cups. The first one to get their tower built and then collapse back into the pile wins. You got 60 seconds on the clock. Let's get ready to go. All right, we got 60 seconds on the clock. On your mark, get set, go. Sarah's already taking a commanding lead. Sophia's struggling to try and catch up.
I have an extra cup. Get it up.
Oh, and we have to collapse. This is Sophia's chance for victory.
You can't knock mine over, bro.
Alright, Sophia's officially at the top. She's now collapsing. She's carefully going down. Can she? Sarah's got a few on the floor. I count 5 on the floor. She's tracking. She's tracking. And 1 minute on the timer. Sarah, by a nose. Great job, you guys. Thank you so much. And that was a Stack It Up challenge. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to see your attempt. See if you can get underneath 60 seconds. Thank you.
In my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will.
Good morning and welcome to Verse Time. Today we are going to learn Hebrews 11 verse 3. So we will start. Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Hebrews 11 verse 3. Okay, we're going to try to erase words and see if we can still say it. And we'll try. We'll keep the reference because that's very important. Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Hebrews 11 verse 3. Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Hebrews 11 verse 3. We're gonna try hard one and try to erase the reference part of it. We'll go probably. Okay. Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Hebrews 11 verse 3. Okay, let's see if we can still do it. Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, and what Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Hebrews 11 verse 3. I'll try and erase it all and see if we can still say it. Hebrews 11 verse 3. By faith we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. Hebrews 11 verse 3. Thank you for joining me, and have a good day.
You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace.
Hello, welcome back to Awana. Have you ever wondered how everything came into existence? Do you ever wonder where Earth came from? Or what Earth is made out of? Do you know where the sun and the moon and the stars, where they came from and how they got there? Have you ever laid outside on your back in the dark and looked up into the stars and wondered, how did those get there? Who put them there? How do they even stay there? I have. I have this watch here. I don't know if you can see it there. There's a watch. Do you think that this watch just happened one day? That all of a sudden a watch just appeared out of nowhere? A watch was made? Or do you think that this watch maybe had a maker? Somebody must have thought about the watch. And just to make this watch, I don't know if you can see it there, it has tiny, tiny little things on it, little hands on each face of it. Somebody who made this watch must have had to know a lot about how a watch works. They needed a lot of wisdom to figure out how to make a watch. He would have had to know all the parts that go inside of it and what it makes to make those hands go around and tick like that. I have this picture here of what the inside of a watch looks like. That's just the inside of a watch. That's how all the pieces go together so that the watch does what we see on the front of it. Do you think if I had all the tiny, can you imagine how tiny those pieces would be on this watch? If I had all the tiny pieces in my hand and I just put it in my hand and shook it and threw it up into the sky, do you think it would come out looking like a watch? What do you think the chances of that happening if a watch would just happen when I just threw all the pieces together? That would be silly to believe something like that. It would be silly to believe that something so complicated as a watch would just happen out of nothing. Remember how we learned that God wrote the Bible by telling special people called prophets exactly what to say? And we learned that the Bible is God's story of what really happened? Today we're going to learn from the very first part of the book of the Bible called Genesis. We're going to learn that what God says about the beginning of everything. We learned that God created the spirits and the things we can't see, but now we're going to learn about the things that we can see. Genesis, so the first book in the Bible, means beginnings or origins. We learned that all things, except for God, had a beginning. You remember when Sarah showed us the cat, Charlie? He had a start, she said. He hasn't always been here. One day he was born, and there was Charlie. Charlie had a beginning. I'm going to read to you from Genesis, chapter 1. So the very first book of the Bible, the very first verse. It says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." So we see that God made the heaven and the earth. To create means to make something out of nothing. Can any of you make something out of nothing? Can you even make a snowman with no supplies? No snow, nothing, just kapoof, there's a snowman. Can you do that? I can't. But God can. Remember that we learned that God's all-powerful and there's nothing that's too hard for him. So let's read the next verse and see what it says. It says, "The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep." So the earth didn't have a shape. There was no form to it. It was completely empty. It was totally dark and there was no light. It was covered by water, but there was no life anywhere on the earth. No people, no animals, and no plants. And God was getting ready to make everything. God's all powerful and he's ready to use his mighty power to create. So the next part of the verse, it says, "And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters." He was getting ready to use his mighty power to make things. His Spirit was hovering over the waters. It was God who started all things moving. God is the source, the beginning of all energy. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, they were all there at the beginning of creation. God is the creator of everything. Next, God made light. How do you think light is made? Let's read Genesis 1, verse 3. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Do you see that? All that God did was speak, and he made light. He said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Can you make light? If you're in a dark room with no light, can you just command there to be light and light shows up? I can't do that, but God can. He created light out of nothing. Then in Genesis 1 verse 4, let's see what it says there. It said, "And God saw the light, and it was good. And God separated the light from the darkness." The light that God made was very good. You'll notice that every time God created something, he said, "It is good." Nothing that I can make or you can make is perfect. Eventually, it will need repairs. It will wear out. It won't last for forever. But what God makes, it's perfect. That's because God is perfect. God is faultless. He's holy. He's set apart. He doesn't make mistakes. Next, we're going to read verse 5. What does it say? God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. So God divided the light from the darkness. But that light wasn't the sun. It was just light. God called the light time day, and the darkness he called night. This was the beginning of time, the first day of the whole world. On the second day, God created the air and the sky. Genesis 1 verse 6 says, "And God said, Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." God created a solid surface to separate the waters below the ground and the water above the ground in the atmosphere. Some scientists that are pretty dependable think that there was like a canopy of water over the top of the earth, different than the clouds that have rain in it, but there used to be, some people think in the old days, a big canopy of water above the earth, high in the atmosphere. So you see, God just spoke, and all of a sudden, solid surface appeared, and then the water was separated on top and below that. Aren't you glad that God wrote his story down for us so that we don't have to guess how creation happened? There's lots that we don't understand, and it's difficult to figure out. But aren't you glad that God is big and powerful, more powerful than anyone or anything? I'm glad he's the one who figured it out, and he knows how to create. Join us next week as we see what God created on the next days of creation. I want you to know that we're praying for you, and we're praying that you will trust God and that you will know him. Have a great week.
In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, you're true.
My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. The mountains are his, the rivers are his, the stars are his handiwork too. Woo-hoo! My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. The mountains are his, the rivers are his, the stars are his handiwork too. Woo-hoo! My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do for you. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. I have decided to follow Jesus. decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. The world behind me, the cross before me. The world behind me, the cross before me. The world behind me, the cross before me. No turning back, no turning back. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. Though none go with me, still I will follow. No turning back.